I don't want to pretend that I'm not happy with who I am anymore. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to make, I always say like I wanted to make a serious video, but like it's not really that serious, like it's not that deep. It's just a video that I've been kind of thinking about making for a while, especially because I made like a TikTok or like an Instagram reel about this, and it did pretty well, and a lot of people kind of seemed to like resonate with it. And so I felt like I should do kind of a more in-depth video talking about kind of like more of my reasoning behind the whole thing. This video is going to be, like I said, a little bit more in-depth into why I don't wish I was cis anymore. There's an emphasis on that anymore part, and we'll get into that later on. But for those of you who don't know, my name is Dakota. I am transgender, female to male, so that means that I was assigned female at birth and I've transitioned to male. I've been on testosterone for 5 years now. And if you don't know, transgender and cisgender, basically, you know what transgender, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you know what these terms mean, but basically transgender means you no longer identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth, and cisgender means you identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. So now that that's out of the way, I want to kind of start this video off with a little preface and just say, you know, yes, being transgender is hard. It's probably one of the most difficult things that I have ever experienced. Transitioning medically and socially has a lot of really high highs and really low lows, and I don't want to discount the fact that being trans is hard. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that being trans is all rainbows and unicorns and butterflies and there's never any bad parts of being trans. That's not true. However, I used to wish that I was cis, and now I don't want to be cis anymore. I don't want to pretend that I'm not happy with who I am anymore. I don't want to pretend that being trans is not a big part of my identity, and I don't want to pretend that this large part of my identity is something that I wish I could change anymore. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that mindset, and I don't really relate to that anymore. Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you agree. Listen, I didn't choose to be trans. Nobody chooses to be trans the same way nobody chooses to be gay or what have you. It's not a choice, it's just who we are. I was choosing to be fucking miserable about the fact that I was trans. I was choosing to constantly, you know, get in my own head and talk down on myself, and I was choosing to let my dysphoria control my life. I was choosing to let these negative thoughts run wild and really control my mindset. You know, the constant worrying about, oh my god, I wish I was 6 foot, or oh my god, I wish I was cis and I had a dick. You know, I wish that I could live my life as a cis guy would live his life. And those type of thoughts were really just making me miserable. It was really ruining my mental health, and for the longest time I was blaming it on the fact that I was trans, and I was blaming it on the fact that I would never grow up with the cis boy childhood that I really wanted. Basically, I was convincing myself that my problems were stemming solely from the fact that I was trans, and not from the fact that I had been taught or conditioned to believe by society, by my family, by people online, by the media, just a lot of outside factors. They had convinced me that being trans was a bad thing. And there was a lot of internalized transphobia and a lot of internalized misogyny that I really had to work through by myself, because, you know, I didn't go to therapy. I didn't really have a lot of, when I first came out, I didn't have a lot of friends who were experiencing the same things as me, and so I had to work through a lot of that by myself. So yeah, overall, I was just choosing to be miserable. I was choosing to kind of conform to these societal views that being trans is supposed to be this horrible, arduous task and something that nobody would ever really learn to love and appreciate. And I kept seeing all these videos about trans people online and posts online from them saying, oh my god, like, I'm so happy that I'm trans, I'm so happy that I get to experience all these things. And I remember being so angry, and I didn't realize at the time that my anger was not directed at them for being happy that they were trans, but it was more a reflection of my anger at myself. And I was angry that I didn't feel that way about my own trans identity. Instead of being happy and learning to embrace my journey and learning to love the things that I would never have experienced if I wasn't trans, I instead decided to hate myself for those exact reasons. And it was just fucking miserable. And eventually, you know, after talking to some friends online and after, you know, watching more and more videos and reading more and more posts from trans people who had learned to embrace their identity, I realized, like, no matter how much I hated being trans, it would not make me cis. And I had to really sit down and reflect on myself and do a lot of like inner work to come to terms with that. And it was hard. It was really hard to sit with that. It was really hard to kind of break down all the internalized misogyny and internalized transphobia, especially as somebody who grew up in the southern United States, in Texas. It's a very red state. A lot of people weren't understanding of my transition. But yeah, a lot of people that I was surrounded by when I first came out and when I first started transitioning were not supportive or were not understanding. And I think that was a very big influence on me because I was just constantly hearing negative things about myself, and I kind of internalized that and I made it like this internal mantra, like, oh my god, being trans is so horrible, being trans is so unnatural, like I'll never be truly happy. It took me completely changing the world around me as well as my internal worldview to accept the fact that, okay, I'm happy with who I am. And it took me a long time to get here, and I feel like it's something that maybe a lot of other young trans people are struggling with, the same way that I was struggling with it when I was young and freshly out and newly transitioning. And I just wanted to kind of explain my reasoning as to why I'm no longer miserable in my identity and why I no longer wish that I wasn't trans. Yes, being trans is hard at times. It can be really difficult, but there are so many things that I would have never experienced. There are so many things that I would have never tried. There are so many people I would have never met if I wasn't trans. You know what I mean? If I had shut down and maybe stayed in the closet and stayed identifying as female. There are so many things that if I hadn't started T when I did, or if I hadn't gotten top surgery when I did, so many things that I would have missed out on in my life, so many people that I would have never met, would have never made friendships with, a whole community online that I would have never cultivated and created, you know, with my platform on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube here. All of that stuff would just be gone, and I don't want that. Like, I have created such a great life for myself, and I don't want to say despite the fact that I'm trans, because I've learned now that being trans is not an obstacle that I've overcome, but it's a part of my identity that I've embraced. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It makes sense in my own head. Maybe I'm not explaining it very well. The whole reason that I was miserable is because I was letting my identity and other people's ideas about my identity control how I saw myself. And the moment that I stopped letting my identity and how other people saw me control how I saw myself, I learned a whole new level of like self-acceptance and self-love, and I started to embrace my journey, and I started to embrace my identity. I started to embrace the man that I am. My vision was so clouded by society's expectations of what a trans person is supposed to look like, what a trans person is supposed to act like. And as soon as I kind of like shed those expectations and realized that I am who I am and I am who I've always wanted to be, it was like a whole new world. Like, it was so crazy. And I don't know, I feel like I've seen a lot of TikToks recently and just videos from younger trans people where they're in the same mindset that I was when I was 17 and 18, and they're just so miserable and they're so upset over the fact that they are trans. And I wish that I could reach through the screen and grab you guys by the shoulders and be like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to be trans. Being trans is not some curse placed on you by God or whatever higher being you believe in, if you believe in any. It's just who you are. And that's great, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being trans. And I feel like, especially with the state of the media and, you know, all the politics being thrown around nowadays, it's really hard to embrace being trans, and I'm here to tell you that it's okay to embrace it. It's a chance for new growth. It's a chance for transformation. Transgender transformation. A little play on words there. Basically, I just wanted to come here and tell you guys that I don't wish I was cis, and that may be a controversial or like hot take for other trans people to hear, but I don't wish I was cis. I'm very happy with who I am. I'm very happy with my trans identity. It's so much more freeing once you realize that being trans is not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. I don't know how else to explain it to you guys. That's really all I wanted to come out and say to you guys. I felt like I needed to get this off my chest. You know, I've been kind of sitting with it for a while, and making the TikTok and the Instagram reel about it was like my first step. I was kind of, you know, dipping my toe into the water to see how people would respond to it, and I just felt like the response that I got warranted a longer video like this. So I hope this made sense to you. Like I said, all of this stuff is just my own personal journey and my own personal experiences, so it probably made more sense in my head than it might make as I'm saying it out loud to you. If you like agree with it, or if you feel the same way, I would really appreciate if you guys would like let me know in the comments. I would love to have a conversation with you guys about this, whether you agree or disagree. This is, like I always say, it's a safe space for debate. You know, I'm always open to chatting with people who may have different opinions or different views than me. That's totally fine. It would be really great if you guys could leave a like on this video, click the little thumbs up button. That way I just know that I'm getting across to my target audience, that would be awesome. And if you want to see any future videos from me, if you don't want to miss out on any future videos from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope I will see y'all in the next one.